I rise today to express my concern about troubling new developments in Russia. Russia's parliament, the Federal Assembly, has just approved so-called anti-terrorism legislation that actually criminalizes free speech and that attacks religious liberty. If President Putin signs this legislation into law in the coming weeks, it will be illegal for Christians to share their faith outside of a church building, as if faith is constrained by the four walls of a structure or belief by a single day of the week on the calendar. In some ways, sadly, this isn't a surprise. There's a lot that's wrong with Russia. We are witnessing a rising authoritarianism in a declining state. A rising authoritarianism in a declining state. Moscow repeatedly and routinely tramples the rights of the press, tramples on free speech, tramples on assembly, on dissent, on national sovereignty. Ask the families of murdered journalists. Ask the student groups facing intimidation. Ask the political dissidents who fear imprisonment. Ask the Ukrainian people who fear being fully overrun. Why is this happening? Because Putin and his cronies think that they can make Russia great again by hoarding wealth, by abusing power, and by crushing any and all dissent and opposition. They strike the pose of a strong man, but this is not real strength. True strength is rooted in virtue, selflessness and sacrifice on behalf of the weak and the oppressed. Mr. Putin is driven by cheap imitation and intimidation, more akin to bullying, vice masquerading as virtue. We know that Russia's offenses are many and egregious. At the same time, Americans well understand that it is not our national calling, nor is it within our power, to attempt to right every wrong in a broken world. But we should be clear about what is happening, as well as the fact that there is no easy fix here. It is naive to hope that Russia can be reformed with a reset button or with promises of future flexibility. Instead, we need to begin telling the truth about an increasingly aggressive actor on the global stage. Again, let me be explicit. The U.S. does not have a solemn obligation to try to make the entire world free, but we absolutely do have an obligation to speak on behalf of those who are made speechless in the dark corners of this globe. This Russian law would be an affront to free people everywhere, at home and abroad, who believe that the rights of conscience, the rights of free speech and the freedom of religion and the freedom of assembly are pre-political. These freedoms do not ebb and flow with history. These freedoms do not rise and fall with the political fortunes of a despot. Governments do not give us these rights, and governments cannot take these rights away. These rights of free speech, freedom of religion, and freedom of assembly belong to every man, woman, and child because all of us are image bearers of our Creator. I'm speaking tonight because this new Russian legislation is emblematic of a growing destructive nationalism and of a thirst for power that cannot be ignored. Putin has a desire to squeeze down on civil society, on other venues for discussion and debate, and on other institutions outside of politics where human dignity can and should be expressed. He does this, and he desires this, not because he is strong, but because he is weak. We here in this body, without regard to political party and representing all 50 states, must be sober and clear-eyed about Russia. We must become more sober and clearer-eyed about their intimidations and about the hostilities and about its dangerous trajectory. Mr. President, we have a duty here to be telling the truth early about where this may be headed. Thank you, Mr. President.